A legendary return plus so much more. We're going to talk about it all right here on the Ango Show. Welcome back to the Ango Show. Don't forget, we are live Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. The last few weeks, we've been doing this new schedule. We talk about Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and pretty much everything that's happening in pro wrestling. These live streams have become incredibly fun. We review the shows, we fantasy book, we talk, we engage. The super chats and the support has been insane. So if you guys are pulling up, make sure you guys come through and pull up in the chat. Trust me, it's always a good time, and I want to see you there. Okay, let's talk about the Wyatt 6. There's been a lot of talk about the Wyatt 6. Some people, for some reason, think that the Wyatt 6 might actually be underutilized. I don't think that's the case at all. But instead, what is really interesting to me is that there has been sort of a plot or a plan that the WWE currently has with the Wyatt 6. I've picked up on it, but now we need to talk about this because this is where things get interesting. Now, Slice Wrestling in the past has reported multiple stories, and some of them have actually come true, which is why we continue to talk about some of the stories that they post. If it seems realistic, we'll talk about it. Now, WWE is currently developing major plans for the Y6 to go after WWE superstars who have done wrong to others, and this includes The Miz, The Final Testament, and the Judgment Day. And I absolutely love this because the Judgment Day are heels, the Final Testament are heels, and The Miz is a heel. The Miz turned on R-Truth. I think this is wonderful. I think Rob Fee and the WWE have really figured out a unique way to tell stories with the Wyatt 6 characters. And on top of that, I think a lot of people have been kind of curious as to like, how will WWE do this long term with the group? Because you don't want to necessarily put Uncle Howdy in the world title picture. And I think this is actually a great way to do it. I don't think he needs to be a world champion, at least not yet, right? He went after Chad Gable, but look at what Chad Gable did to Alpha Academy. That was the reason why he was a target. And I think this is the kind of storytelling that is actually really good because title belts don't have to be on the line. And on top of that, I think it's a really unique way to distinguish that the Wyatt 6, even though they are very, very crazy group of people, they are a very crazy group of people, trust me. They are very chaotic. Chaos happens every single time they're out there. But the reality is they are doing it to protect the baby faces, which I find to be a very unique strategy for the WWE. Now, I don't know what merchandise sales look like currently as it stands, but I do feel like the more that they are prominently on TV doing things like this, I do think they are eventually going to be one of the top merch sellers for the WWE. I think they're going to be a big draw for the WWE, and I think, this is the perfect way to have them on TV without having a lot of pressure on them, especially if they win or lose. I don't think it really matters. It's more about the stories being told. Speaking of future plans, WrestleMania 41 plans have been leaked. WWE has already planted the seed for this, but now Slice Wrestling has come out and offered some very interesting updates. It appears that Seth Rollins vs. CM Punk is currently planned for WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. And in addition to that, WWE is also discussing including the World Heavyweight Championship in the program. Now, this is interesting, and I want to specifically talk about this because I want to know how right or wrong this actually is, considering the fact that Gunther is the World Heavyweight Champion. Because if this is going to be a World Championship match, then at some point, Gunther will have to drop the belt. And well, I would have to assume he would drop the belt to one of these two. Now, there have been rumors that Gunther could be dropping the belt to CM Punk in a feud that takes place later this year, but we don't know if there's any truth to those rumors, and that's obviously a wait-and-see type of thing. I do want to throw this out there, though. I think this is a very good thing to point out. I think this is a very good thing for WWE to... I think this is a good thing for WWE to experiment with. CM Punk doesn't have that many years left in the business, right? And I think it is very obvious that CM Punk and Seth Rollins is going to be an amazing feud. CM Punk's feud with Drew McIntyre was already so good. You have to wonder if WWE wants to throw Drew McIntyre into the title picture because CM Punk, Drew, Seth, these are guys that have all had feuds. Drew McIntyre just obviously lost. There's rumors that Drew could go after Gunther. Maybe Drew is successful with that. CM Punk screws Drew over, and then, that kind of turns into this trickle-down effect, which leads to them at WrestleMania 41. I don't know. I think it would actually be a good idea for Punk to get the World Heavyweight Championship at some point. I don't think he has a lot of full-time years going forward. We'll see. Obviously, I would like to see Punk more and more often, but the reality is that may not actually be the case. And if that's not the case, this is the perfect feud for it, especially because you can have an up-and-comer take the belt from CM Punk. And there are a lot of guys who I can see being a great part of WWE Raw on Netflix that hold that belt, and Braun Breaker is one of them. And I mentioned Braun Breaker because CM Punk is a guy who is very instrumental right now with NXT. This is a guy who has a lot of interest in NXT. Braun Breaker came from NXT. CM Punk, it sounds like, the AEW fan base was telling us for a long time that CM Punk doesn't care about working with the younger up-and-comers, but I don't think that's the case at all. So for me personally, I'm super ecstatic about this. I think CM Punk versus Seth Rollins would be absolutely massive of a storyline, but I think what comes after could be really good, especially if Punk was the one to drop the belt to a Braun Breaker or another up-and-coming star. So yeah, this is like one of those things I'm super excited about. WrestleMania 41, this is a marquee match. But also, too, we cannot forget, we must acknowledge what I just said about Braun Breaker, because Braun Breaker could be one of the 2 last matches of Goldberg's career. We're going to talk about it. Slice Wrestling, again, coming out with another report. This one is very interesting because it does actually echo some of the other reports that are being made. Goldberg and WWE are in advanced discussions for him to be in 1 or 2 more matches. WWE is looking to book the legend to help get over younger superstars. And so here it begins. I know there is going to be a lot of backlash on this topic, and I understand. I understand wholeheartedly why people might not want to see Goldberg back in the WWE. However, this is not Vince McMahon's WWE anymore, so before I try and be negative about it, because trust me, I think I'm very close to being negative about this, I have to remember that Triple H is booking here. If Goldberg is coming in and he has 2 matches left and he's going to get his retirement, he's going to get his send-off, that is good for WWE. That is good for business because WWE and Goldberg business-wise were not meeting in the middle, right? Also, I think this is a big test for Triple H. What do you do with Goldberg? Do you really have him bury one of your talents, like Goldberg did previously under the Vince McMahon regime? So, my suggestion is this. Goldberg versus Gunther. We already got that tease. I don't know if this is going to be a good match or not. I'm not going to pretend it will be a good match right now. But if there were 2 people I would love to see Goldberg lose to, I would like to see Goldberg lose to Gunther, and I would like to see Goldberg lose to Braun Breaker. In fact, I would like Braun Breaker to be the one to retire Goldberg, and that's what I would do if I were the WWE. Now, I bring this up because this is where it gets interesting. If Goldberg were to beat Gunther, that would be catastrophic. If Goldberg were to beat Braun Breaker, that would be catastrophic. You do not want to do that to these 2 guys that have huge upwards trajectory and already so much momentum. So listen, I'm going to make it very clear and very easy and very simple to say. Bring back Goldberg, have him lose 2 matches, have him get retired by Braun Breaker. It helps the WWE business, but also it helps Goldberg, who finally gets his way out. You know what I mean? Listen, WrestleMania 41, Braun Breaker versus Goldberg. Goldberg's last match. Tout it, make it a big deal, treat it like a big deal. That's what I would do if I were the WWE. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.